Hi, I'm Stendahl. I'm one of your faculty members. I'm in the beginning course where I teach drawing live animals. And it's a lot of fun, and there's 5 other really fantastic artists in that course. So if you're interested, I suggest that you check it out. I'm here today, June 4th, 2019, because Danny asked me to talk to you about color pencil supplies. There's an upcoming class, and everybody's really excited about it. And I've been working in color pencil since childhood. My first box of colored pencils was given to me when we moved to Australia, and I was a 10-year-old. And I was given a box of 12 Derwent color pencils, and that became quite a fixture in my artistic life. And so much so that when I married my husband, we went on our honeymoon to the Derwent Pencil Factory. With this long history of using them, I have some little things that might interest you, that might be useful, and that you can keep in mind. I'm not going to suggest you rush out and buy any of this stuff, because as you go into the course, the instructors will have some recommendations. But these are things that going forward might make your life a little bit easier. One of the number one things that I want to suggest in presenting to you today is that when you buy any set of colored pencils, that you realize they're quite an investment, $4 or $5 dollars, whatever they're going for each now, depending on the brand. And yes, you can find whole sets on sale and so on. I believe 2 things. I believe it's a false economy in colored pencils to buy student or scholar grade pencils, because they tend to have a lot more of the waxy binder that holds everything together and less pigment, and so no matter how hard you try, you're going to have kind of a wimpy result, and that's just going to be frustrating for you. So that's one thing I would suggest, is always buy the artist brand. Just get a few pencils, go to open stock, get the colors that you normally use the most, and gradually build up your set of pencils if you can't afford to buy 24 pencils at one time or something. So think about it in those terms, but think artist quality. And then the other thing that is very important is, I believe that you should always consider part of the purchase price of any set of pencils or any quantity of pencils is that you also buy a case that can hold them and keep them safe, because you're spending quite a lot of money per pencil, and they're quite fragile. And if you drop them even on a carpeted surface, depending on the angles they fall and so on, you can break the internal lead, because all they are is a wooden barrel, or sometimes you don't even have that, you just have the lead, but a round lead inside that is protected only by the wooden barrel. And when they fall or bump into something, or even when they jostle against each other in an unsuitable tin or other kind of case, they're going to have the potential to break. Pencil cases, for me, there's 2 routes to go. If you're going to have a lot of tools, and they're going to be fairly full in your case, and they'll stand up, stand next together and have some pressure. A case like this can be nice. It can sit this way up in your pack, and you can reach right in and just pull the tools out. So these could literally sit in here right like that. But if they're loose, if there's so few tools in here that things are loose and rattling around, I don't recommend this kind of case for your colored pencils. Instead, I recommend these. I think this is the best colored pencil case or pencil case on the market. It's made by Global, and it comes in different sizes. This is the sketch kit, actually, which I take if I want to sketch at the zoo, or if I want to use pencils and colored pencils, and then also if I want to go to life drawing with it. And so that's the small little set here. They make them in different sizes. So this is a bigger one. And this actually has some Derwent drawing pencils in it. Here you can see that you can only fit 2 pencils in one of these elastic areas. And on their advertisements, they say you can put 3 in each. Just keep in mind, if you're using thicker art pencils, that you're only going to be able to put 2 in each of these divisions. And that limits the number of pencils that you can hold. Why do I like this case? I like this case because the pencils are held immobile. They're not clattering around next to each other. This is padded, so the surface they're on is padded. This is padded. I think they make them with fabric now, and I don't think you can get leather ones anymore, but they're the same case. It's just they have fabric on the covers. The zipper is really nice. This is probably a 25-year-old, maybe a 30-year-old pencil case. I don't know how old, but at least 20-year-old pencil case, 25. And it's been everywhere, and you just do that, and it's shut. They also have double-decker ones of these, and they have double-decker ones of these, which means there's another section that opens out, so you can have more pencils. It's just a matter of what you want to carry around. The other thing is that with pencils, when I'm out and about sketching, what I do is I take the pencils out that I want to use and I hold them in my hand. It's dangerous to do that because you could drop them if you're bumped, but I just don't like getting things in and out of my pencil case because I'm standing while I sketch. So that's something to keep in mind. But this, for me, if I'm buying a new set of colored pencils, I work out my budget based on if I can afford a new case exactly like this. That will protect your pencils. If you're going to carry your pencils loose in a pencil case with other drawing tools, then I recommend you invest in getting some pencil caps. And the main reason for this is it keeps all your other tools clean. You may have already had an experience where you reach into a pencil case and you pull out your favorite pen and you have lead dust all over your fingers. This will help prevent that. There's a variety of different ones. You want to get one that will fit a wider pencil if you're going to cover color pencils. You'll also need to get a sharpener. And if you're traveling around with a sharpener and you're out in the field and out and about, you want to get one that actually has a place to catch your shavings. And this one is called a ratchetta. And the cool thing about this, of course, I sharpened all my pencils, so maybe I can sharpen this one here, is you twist both hands and you have absolutely no danger of cracking the lead. Normally, when you work in a pencil sharpener that is not a ratchet kind of mechanism, you have to hold either your hand or the pencil hand still. So the hand that holds this, so you can turn the pencil and this hand hold still, or you can turn this and you can hold your pencil hand still. If you turn them both at the same time and you aren't using a ratchet type pencil sharpener, then what's going to happen is the wood and the lead are going to get caught in the pencil sharpener, just as a matter of course, and you're going to send a little shiver of tension down the barrel, and you're going to break the lead inside here. And even though you never drop this pencil, you'll be sharpening it one day, and all of a sudden, some of the lead will fall out because the lead is broken. And then you have to sharpen it again, and more lead falls out. So that's another way that pencils get broken. It's not just by dropping them on the ground. Something else that I have found very useful, because pencils are so expensive, is a pencil extender. This one's by Alvin. This one is by Kohinoor, and the Kohinoor one is better if you have thicker pencils like your artist color pencils. The Alvin is better with the thinner normal size pencils that you have like for drafting. And what happens here is when you get down to the very last little bit of your color pencil and you want to use it because you paid $4 for that pencil, and this represents about $1.50, and you want to use that. You take this and you put it in the top of the pencil extender. It's got a little give here that will spread apart a little bit so that you can insert it in there. And then you take the collar and you push that up all the way to the top, and that holds it in place. And now you can use this perfectly balanced like a normal length pencil. I don't like to erase. If you've taken my portion of the beginning class, then you realize that I'm one of those people who likes to draw in pen and ink and leave it. Well, I do that when I work in pencil and colored pencil as well. And I like all the extra lines of pentimento that show up. But One of the things that I also do is I work very lightly, and we'll just do something real quickly here on a piece of paper. So I would work, that's even too dark for me. I'm sorry, I picked a piece of stationery that has little marks on it, so that's not useful. And but anyway, so those are light marks. These are a little bit darker than I would make for my beginning marks. These are lighter. And if I'm doing a drawing where I want to have a little bit more finish, or I think that lines are going to be confusing for some reason, I would, in the studio, I also have one of these around when I'm out and about, but I rarely use it. This is a kneaded eraser, and bunches of companies make these. And when it gets dirty, you just knead it, and then it's clean again until it isn't. And you'll know when that is, and then you just have to throw it away. And I like the Design brand, but that might not be available near where you live. But anyway, some of the others are a little tackier. But then what you can do with this is I'm just going to push down on my, oops, I'm going to lose that little pencil. I just like to push down on those really light lines, a couple pounces, and see, now they're gone. Why do I do this? If you erase, you have to do this motion across the surface of your paper, and that destroys the tooth of your paper, and colored pencil is very sensitive to that. And so by pouncing up and down, you do less damage, and you get essentially the same result. It's very hard to completely erase all trace of a colored pencil because they get down there into the tooth and they just sort of stay there. But if you work first with light lines and then pounce with something like a kneaded eraser, you're going to be fine. If you want to take this one step further, again, I don't carry this out and about with me, but in the studio this is useful. This is called an erasing shield. Basically, you would have a piece of colored pencil drawing or pencil drawing, and you would place this over here so that you wanted to erase in a certain shape, or maybe you wanted little dots to be erased. And then you would take your kneaded eraser and you would make it into a little point or other useful kind of edge, and you would erase just in that area in the shield here. And then you would protect the rest of your work. So that's kind of a fun little thing to have in the studio. You might use it out and about too. I just find that it would be not so useful there for me. I'm asked all the time if colored pencil comes off one page and goes on to the other when it's in your journal and the pages get turned a lot or whatever. And some papers just let loose the pigment of the colored pencil more readily than others. And so I've been asked a lot of times, do I spray fix and what spray fixative do I use? I don't use any spray fixative in any of my work because of my allergies and my asthma. So everything just smells to me, and if I were to use something like that, it would just be bad. But this is a page of glassine, and I would cut it down to the size of my book page with a little bit like this folded over at the top. And then I would hook that over the top of my journal page, and it also would be about 1/4 inch out from the center of the gutter of your book so that your book could open and close easily. And then on the next page, I would just take some Nichiban masking tape, which is low tack, and I would just put a little bit of masking tape here and here to hold it on the other side of the page. And usually I will lop this over to the preceding pages because that work has already been done, as opposed to the new page that's coming up because I haven't done work there, and then I'd have to move those pieces of tape in order to work on that page. But if you also have a problem with fixative, then I recommend you use glassine. You can get it in pre-cut 9 by 12 inch and other size sheets, or you can buy a roll of it. And it's not wax paper, although it might look and sound like wax paper. It's what they use for interleaving amongst pages of artwork and flat files. Okay? So you should be able to get it at any art supply store or any store where they sell art papers. I wanted to show you some of my favorite colored pencils so that you get an idea of the vast variety. I would say that the majority of my life, besides Derwent's, I've used Prismacolors. But every once in a while, you'll find another line and you'll try them out and you'll like them. That happened to me with Charismacolor, which was made by Beryl in England. And we got them here for a very brief period of time, and they were just the most lovely, luscious pencils I've ever used. I still have a few from one of those sets left. But normally I use Prismacolor. And I do this because although I learned with Derwent, and Derwent was a little bit different when I was a child, it was a little bit softer and a little bit more dry, less waxy, and it still is all that, but it was still soft enough that I enjoyed using it in a way that when it changed, I enjoyed using it less. The Prismacolor I like because I can get a really good point on it, and because they have the leads aren't brittle. So that's why I like that. But I do use my regular Derwents, and then also one of my favorite pencils is the Derwent drawing pencil. This happens to be the Terracotta. Originally, these pencils were released in a range of 6, I think. So this is my favorite Derwent drawing pencil. This is the chocolate, and I learned about all of the Derwent drawings by reading an article in 1980s magazine, step-by-step view of an artist working with pencil and watercolor. And I was looking for a pencil that wouldn't blur and blend and muddy my watercolors when I washed over it. And I've been using them ever since. About 5 or 6 years after they were introduced, or maybe a little bit longer because I'm not exactly sure when they were introduced, they then came out with a line of 20 colors, and they're all muted earth tones. And I recommend them. They're softer than a regular color pencil, but they're not soft like a charcoal pencil. They're still waxy, and I like that. The ivory black from this line, along with the black pencil I'm going to show you from Koh-i-Noor, is they are the two pencils that I used the most when I was drawing my dog, who was a black and white Alaska Malamute. And it's because both of those were really black pencils. This is the one, it was from Koh-i-Noor, now it's made, Cretacolor is what the name of it is. And it's called the Nero, and it comes in 5 hardnesses, 1 through 5, and I like the 1 the best for most things, and I can just go here, you can see it's a very, very black pencil. It's black, it's not graphite. The ivory black from the Derwent drawing, and you can see that's also a very black pencil. It's blacker here because I pressed a little bit harder. This isn't a color pencil, but I wanted to mention it because I know a lot of you use water-soluble pencils. This is a water-soluble graphite pencil from Art Graph, and for me, it's the most, it's the strongest graphite, water-soluble graphite pencil that they have. For watercolor pencils, I like to use the Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer, and I don't have any of those right here, but they're readily available in any art supply store, and you can find them there. But I find that they are the ones that dissolve the nicest for me and have the best amount of color. I should mention too the Cretacolor, if you're looking to use a bigger lead, you can get holders and leads in that black color pencil lead that I was talking about. This is a color pencil from Faber-Castell, and it's got a twisty mechanism to it. It's something they brought out when they started getting into all those scrapbooking types of materials that they're getting into. I found it actually at a scrapbooking store. It's very waxy, and you can use it and rotate it to bring it back to a point. And if you've ever seen me work with color pencils, when I work with a color pencil, I'm constantly turning it a little bit in my hand. So you watch my fingers rotating it. I'm watching myself and the screen, so I'm not getting out here. I'll watch you. And because of that, then you're always going to wear the tip all the way around, and it'll stay pointed longer. This would be the same thing. You could work it down in that way, or you could get a lead sharpener and sharpen that, or you could sharpen it with a blade. I use it in life drawing. I just sketch with it like this, and the advantage to this to me is it's fun, it's bold, and then I can wash over it, and because it's waxy, it repels the wash and is kind of fun. This is a Stabilo All, and this is actually for marking things like negative sleeves and marking on glass plates and all sorts of things that used to happen in production and printing but now don't happen anymore. And so I have this because I used to use these when I was younger, when I would have to deal with a lot of negatives and photographs. And it is a very waxy pencil, but it is also water soluble. And I really like these. Probably not light fast because it wasn't made for an artistic type of use, but it is a lot of fun. China markers, I think you can also think of those as color pencils. They come in a lot of different colors. They're also very waxy. I like to use them at life drawing. You just pull the thread here and part of this paper wrapping comes off, and then you can expose more as you need it. And again, if you work around a little bit here, and you rotate it, you can get it to a nice point, or you can get a point with a blade. If you've read my blog, you know that one of my favorite pencils is this pencil called the Stabilo Tone, and they are no longer sold under this name. Now Stabilo calls them woodies because they're short and they've got wood on them. And what it is a wax, water-soluble colored pencil. So it's really waxy, almost like a Caran d'Ache Neocolor 2. It's waxy in that way. And you can use it as a pencil, just like this, and then you can wash over it, and then when it's dry and the paper can take some more, you can put more color on, do whatever you want, and it's quite fun to use. And also the white in this pencil line is very useful as an opaque white to use on any of your toned paper drawings. Now, if you're going to, this is hard to show you because I have a limited area of where I can set this on my table. But if you're going to work in your home or studio and you want always to protect your paper from the oils and dirt on your hands, and so there's something called an acrylic bridge, and that's what this is. So I'll show you the end here. And the other end looks just the same. And when you set this over your paper goes underneath between those two ends, so your paper can still move and slide around. But now I'm probably an inch above that sheet, and what I would do then is I would work like this with my hand hanging off the edge. And then that way there's no marks, there's no dragging of color or anything around. You can make a bridge for yourself. About 20 years ago, I was teaching classes in botanical illustration with colored pencil. One of the gentlemen in one of those classes was a woodworker. He was retired and he liked to make things out of wood. So one day, after I had showed everybody the acrylic bridge, he showed up with 30 of these bridges made out of cherry. And they're beautiful. And I looked for one to show you. I have a couple, but they were packed away for safety because the studio's been torn up for the last couple of weeks with people coming in and fixing things. And I didn't want them to get broken. But the lower to the paper, as far as I'm concerned, the better. Remember, don't think that you have to run out and buy any or all of these things. These are suggestions for something that you might need at some point when you use colored pencils. In fact, one of the nice things about colored pencils is because they're blendable by being layered one on top of the other, because they're a semi-transparent medium, and what is underneath is going to show through and impact the color of what you have on top. Because of all that, you can get by with very few colors of colored pencil. So if you're interested in starting a trip, an adventure using colored pencils, just go out and buy the same small amount of colored pencils that you would if you were going to make a watercolor palette. And I'll show you a little bit later in another post some different ways that I use colored pencil. But it's really a very varied tool that you can use in a number of situations, and it really shines. And you should be excited, especially in colored pencil class. You're going to see some people really push the envelope with what they're doing with colored pencils, so it'll be a lot of fun. Okay? See you later.